от сигарет кружится, как тези споры, тонкий английский лед, под ним кипящее море. Рюмка на полпальца, где-то усталая печень, но он опять рвется в зал, как будто последняя встреча. Жесткое вино разума обжигает, но будет спящих каждое слово, как выстрел в зал, и не осталось священных щелей, где бы он тихо промолчал. Где-то в Багдаде жара тонет в сарказме и прозе. Он пишет, как режет ножом, по мифам на белой бумаге. В студиях, в старых барах, в маленьких залах кампусов он ставит под роспись богов и веру сдает под авансом. Жесткое вино разума обжигает, но будет спящих каждое слово, как выстрел в зал, и не осталось священных щелей, где бы он тихо промолчал. Тело слабеет, голос сипит, но шутка выходит точнее. Он поднимает стакан и говорит: поверим, кого соберет скорее. Публика держит дыхание, он не дает ей надежд, только упрямая да к сомнению и плохи. И следует смерть. Жестокое разума обжигает, но будет спящий каждое слово, как выстрел в зал, и не осталось священных щелей, где бы он тихо промолчал.
This land was made for you and me. That includes our poor and hungry. If you want to join the fight, come stand with us on the right side of history. Divided we stand, united we fall. In the belly of the beast, fighting fascists, the tyrants.
Well, you're looking at a retired man. And
Wait a
it
minute.
is-
Did you just say? Did you just say we're looking at a retarded man? And if
No,
you did,
it's
how
an
is that
old
any
man's
different?
hearing. You're hearing it wrong.
No.
And you hear Davies from France here, chiming in from
Well,
Paris.
close.
Close. His visa was denied temporarily, so he'll be on the show tonight. Good to see everybody. This is Divided We Stand. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube. We ask that you subscribe to our channel. We are an unmonetized channel, which means you won't see any advertisements or anything like that. And we're not asking for money, which is rare, because whether people are asking for money or merchandise or coffee or tea or whatever the hell they try to get, we don't ask for shit. Okay? This is like my motto. Never
Your
trust
motto
anybody
is
in a suit. Never trust anybody in a suit. That's my motto.
No,
okay?
you have that model had you had the word in there, shit, but I forget what it was.
Okay, but in any case, it's like having premium, and I've said this before. But with the one nice thing about premium, you don't have to see any ads. Well, you don't even have to have premium because we have so few subscribers that there's really no need to monetize our channel. So please, if you are incognito there or not, make sure you sign up and subscribe, which means you have to have an account on YouTube and on YouTube and a Google account, but make sure that you do that. And also, if you are not on YouTube, please make sure you jump on over to the Facebook group page that we have, which is very, very popular. Well over 1,600 members now. We are growing little by little, and this is a private page, but a lot of people are involved. A lot of people from all over the country, in fact, all over the world, quite frankly. So we ask that you become a member of that group. You'll have to look it up on Facebook. There are a few other Divided We Stands, and that goes as well for YouTube. But I think you'll be able to figure out which one's which.
But is it the one that they want to subscribe to? That's the one where you appear topless and then bottomless? Is that the one?
That must be it, Dave. Okay.
Huh.
And speaking of Dave, let's get this sorted guy over here. This is Dave. Dave, explain to everybody. You had mentioned last week that you will be off for a couple of weeks.
That's true.
You're going to be in Europe. What the hell happened?
Well, what the hell happened? Granddaughter's here, so we'll be going with us, and she got here Thursday, I guess. And so Judy, went to look at something. She says, "Oh, we're not leaving until Monday." So I immediately said, "I can do the show." So I will be doing it by tape from France and Italy. And honestly, I'm looking forward to it for the kind of the politics end of it. Certainly Italy.
And also the climate change part of it too. Make sure you take some videos, people sweating it out.
Well, before
town
we
squares.
get too excited about that, they just announced. They just put on that next week here in DC with the heat index, it'll be 113. So it wouldn't matter if I was here. Yeah, and but of course it is a big deal in Europe because they do consider the possibility that the climate might be changing.
And they have a lot of old buildings too, and not necessarily air conditioned.
And they're not air conditioned. More than there used to be.
Right, but it's very difficult to retrofit that, so they have to either have the space air conditioners or whatever.
But the thing will be interesting. Maybe the heat will make the Italian people even more angry. One of their leading right-wing conservative newspapers had a huge headline last week. Last week now. Basically with the translation of Trump is an asshole. So, that's kind of the feeling I would get because, the prime minister, who is a female, and of course Trump can't treat any female as human. They're in a war. And France and Italy just this weekend signed a kind of an agreement icing out America, going on their own. And we're going to see that more and more. We've talked on the show a lot. I don't know if we'll get there tonight, so I'll just bring it up here now. One of the biggest problems, and there's hundreds and thousands of problems with Trump as president, but one is our place in the world. It's going to be a while before our allies, not our enemies, but our former allies are going to trust us. He's done everything from claiming he's going to make Canada a state to, whatever, and so I think, while as Americans, we focus a lot on how he's affecting us. I think that in the long run, even more of a problem may be, what happens if we get into some kind of world problem, i.e., we're in some climate change, war, whatever. So anyway, Brian, question for you. This is your first show doing it as a retired person. Does it feel any different?
Well, that's a great question. It seems like a simple question, but it's actually kind of complex for me, Dave, because, these last couple of days that I've woken up at, I don't know, whatever, early in the morning, I almost feel like I'm going to be going to work. And then I have to reflect and say, well, geez, I am actually retired now, and so I have the choice of going back to sleep or not. And technically, I am not retired till the 1st of July, but for all intents and purposes, I am.
All right, since you keep saying that,
I know. Because that's my paranoia. I'm afraid that somehow I'm going to get the call and it says you got to come in. You didn't finish something, but that's just me. That is, I undo everything. It's like
all right,
walking away from the car and you think you kept it unlocked.
So to ease that paranoia, just go in tomorrow, and then go in, and just in case, go in every day in June left, including Saturday, Sunday. Also, why don't you do a morning shift and then an evening shift too, because there is evening school still in Bridgeton, and that way you'll have it all covered.
Well, I'll say this in all seriousness, Dave. There is this. I mean, I remember when you were teaching, I think I went to a workshop on retirement because I figured it'd be a good idea to keep ahead of that. And I remember the only thing I remember about that one particular professional development is this one guy said, he was probably my age at the time. He said, the one thing that you are going to realize above everything from this, and what I can tell you is that it's going to feel like a weight's taken off your back. And I don't care who you are, Dave. I know you were kind of cool and collected when you were teaching. So was I. But there is a certain effect on the nerves when that you have to be there somewhere, and then you have to deal with some kids that are very challenging, or you knew the cafeteria duty that you had, and this goes for any teacher across the nation. There is a certain anxiety that runs through your body because you do have this very strict time schedule, and there's a lot of pressure, and you are dealing with young adults who are apprentice adults, and it's that I think makes people run away. I mean, every teacher, or most any teacher, will say, they love the kids, and you do. I mean, you do care, and you want to teach, but there is always this idea that a lot of the kids around you are broken, and then the teachers have to put on a facade that they're under control, when in reality you're not completely under control. No. And you knew that, and you were a guy.
I always said this. Bridgeton, where Brian did teach and where I taught for 20 years, it's a tough city. I think it's actually improved. Now, this is an outsider. I've been gone for 15 years. But I think the Spanish culture, it's Hispanic Latino culture. It was predominantly Mexican. I guess it still is. But you also have Honduras and Salvadorians coming in. It's a different culture. But the parents many of them were pretty interested in the schooling. So you had the problems of acclimating to America. You had the language problems. They still continue. But you also had a violence. At one point, I don't know, what, 6 years ago, something like that, Bridgeton was named the most dangerous city in America per capita. Now, there's more crime. There's more crime in D.C. in 7 blocks than there might be in Bridgeton. But it was like you had a 1 in 5, I think, chance of being victim of a violent type crime. So there was that. And so I always just said to teachers, we're not in control. I mean, think about it. This is, if you had 22 kids, and we were fortunate in Bridgeton, Brian, really, they did keep the class sizes down. Largest.
And they kept some of the kids who were really bad never even got to the high school. I've seen that, but that was a weird thing.
But I mean, think about it. 22 17-year-olds, if they want to walk out, how are you going to stop them? I mean, so it is. And then the other thing is, and this is for everybody out there who has grandchildren, children, friends, neighbors, family members, teaching is getting more difficult.
Because you
And
have to police too.
Part of that is the fact that politics is too much involved in education. For example,
Texas,
take the national level. You take the national level, just look at two things. One is the Department of Education has had two of their big things, working with children with special needs, taken away from them and put in another department. They're down the whole Department of Education. And I'm not saying it didn't need a look-see and maybe some changes, but it's devastated now. In fact, basically, Trump's aim is to close it. He can't legally because only Congress can do that. So there's that. And then you've got these cases, and the one to keep your eye on is Texas. Basically, what it's saying is Texas is going to incorporate the Bible in all of its grades in some way. Now, having said that, there's a way to incorporate the Bible, but you know that Texas conservatives aren't going to do it that way. I think that every American should have a basic understanding of the Bible so that when these crazy religious nuts come up...
Oh, I think it's pretty easy dealing with them without the Bible. It's...
Well, there, yeah, but I'm just saying, so, but at least, when they start talking about, whatever story.
Yeah, if you want to have a debate with them on some particular religious figure, but they're not going to change.
Brian, I'm not interested in changing them. What I am interested in is people being able to know and have a choice, maybe, about, what you're telling me isn't true.
Well, you know what? I still think, Dave, if you really look at that, there is no need whatsoever to have a religious class, unless you want to study theology or something like that.
Well,
other than that,
I would debate that. I would
schools.
Debate that if you can separate the Bible as literature from the Bible as God's word. It's very hard to really understand.
Yeah, but a lot of things can be considered literature, but why do you have to specifically use just because your lunatic neighbor next to you believes in that shit?
No, Brian. You're we're doing two different things here. If you use the Bible for anything religious, you're wrong. Boom, in school. End of story. But Moby Dick doesn't carry the same impact if you don't know the story of Jonah and the whale. It doesn't, okay? Moby Dick is one of the great... now, in modern literature, the Bible is not so much. But back then, Scarlet Letter, our great works of literature did. Yes, Ms. Blue Ocean, I'll be talking about that. Brian, why don't you go first tonight? What's on your mind?
We talked about this the last 3 weeks about Iran, and I think we generally agree that, first of all, Iran's a horrible actor. You get a theocratic government, just despicable, and then we have a despicable president and a despicable Senate and a despicable Congress and a despicable Supreme Court. And so now we have this philosophical situation occurring, which you and I have talked about, where evil destroys evil. I cannot even contemplate in any way that somebody's got to give in, and Trump is certainly likely just to give in, just to get it out of the way for the midterms. We all know that's been in the press. He's either got to go all the way or no way. There is nowhere. He's between a rock and a hard place. He either gives everything up or he sends boots on the ground. So he has completely screwed this thing up. And technically, I think the only way to win the situation is to go to war with them and go all out. But I would not do it, of course. I'm just saying he's going to give up $300 billion. He's going to bullshit and say that they're going to buy back soybeans and all these kind of things. Absolute nonsense. And then you're going to go by a promise that you give. That's no better than his promises. So everything we discussed, it's this thing is going up and down and up and down, and you know what? He deserves it. And if we can deal with the high gas prices and let his own get pissed off finally and throw his ass, because it's going to have to come from within the party and these maggots to come after him. Let it happen. I am just so sick of this situation in Iran.
Well,
what say you?
What say I is, I posted it a lot of times, but I think it bears repeating. To me, Donald Trump is many things, but the one thing even worse in this particular regime is he really is a King Midas in reverse. Okay, King Midas, everything he touched comes to gold. literally, figuratively, everything Trump touches comes to shit. And some things are more dangerous than others. And playing around in Iran is very dangerous. There's no way. Somebody correct me out there because I'm doing this off the top of my head. But I don't think any of his announced how many halts or treaty what have lasted on the straits more than 24 hours before somebody's bombing somebody again. So you're right, Brian. I mean, I don't have an answer for it. My answer, quite honestly, is the least involvement in the Middle East that you can afford to have, the better off you are. Look, Netanyahu is a war criminal. I don't care what anybody says he is. I'm not anti-Semitic, but I'm telling Israel's run by their version of Donald Trump. We're run by our version of Donald Trump, and Hezbollah and Hamas, and you've got these terrorist organizations. You don't have any good actors involved there. But what, you got Putin on the outside? There's just no good actors. Do you see England taking much part in the Middle East? Do you see France?
Well, they learned their lesson.
Do you see
the ones that
Italy?
caused it in the first place? But yeah.
Well, no. I mean, so what I'm saying is, but again, America runs on oil, as do other countries. But I think that's part of the problem is you've got the tremendous Israeli lobby, and understandably
let's first. You're talking about AIPAC. That is not Israeli. That is an American Jews who not necessarily, and some of them go against Israel.
No.
So that's AIPAC you're talking about.
No.
Because you could easily talk about Karen also. You haven't mentioned that ever. And Karen, has just as much money, if not more, than AIPAC. So that you have to remember.
Okay, let me rephrase so even my slow retired friends can get it. Would you agree that there's a large contingent of Americans who support Israel?
At this point in time, when you say contingent, you talking about a majority of Americans?
Just no large. I mean, that a third, maybe.
That's a tough question because it's not really defined. I would say this: there are just as many people who support going against Israel through Karen as there are AIPAC. And again, AIPAC is not Israeli. AIPAC is from Americans, and they have gone against Israel. So that sometimes Israel is at odds with AIPAC.
I often get.
But you have not mentioned Karen. Karen is very, very, and I think you do know what they are.
Well, for people who don't, why don't you explain?
Okay, for Islamic countries, okay, they have a lobby, okay, and that lobby is very, very strong. It's just as much money, so that can go back and forth as far as money.
Yes. Well, money's not the only thing. It's a big factor.
It's a real big thing in politics because it does buy off politicians.
But I would submit to you, if every person in America over the age of 18 were polled, and I'm not saying, when I say poll, every single American, which isn't going to happen, the majority would be, the question would be, do you support Israel or do you support the Arab nations? The majority would go with Israel.
I think if you took the Republican Party, that's somewhat split, but generally I don't know, maybe 60-40 now, because don't forget, you have your Tucker Carlsons of the world. They're definitely anti-Israel, if not anti-Semitic.
But see, I think that right there is the problem.
But you can't define it, because you're not a Jew. Okay?
Well,
I know you can understand what it is. No, because
you can define it. You can define it because you're half a Jew?
Yeah. I can, because I know when somebody sits behind you says something like that fucking Jew or this and that, I know what it is to go through anti-Semitism. I know what I had in college.
Did you ever think it's just because you're a fucked up personality and it has nothing to do?
No, I know what anti-Semitism is. I know it, just like you would know what pornography is. You know it when you feel it. It's just like a black person. You cannot tell somebody that you understand black racism like a black person.
I understand that.
Okay.
No. Okay. So would you agree then that could color your feelings?
Absolutely, it colors it. But you see, there's a difference in that while a lot of my experiences are anecdotal, I think I have a right to profess that I'm correct because I've, number one, experienced it because I am a Jew, even though I'm an atheist. I do understand it. And I think, and you can't deny that a lot of people who are against Israel They are now coming out of the war. Not everybody just. There's no problem going against Israel. There Israelis who go against Israel, but when people cloak it behind their anti-Semitism, there are people who will say the same thing you do, but in their minds they'll say, "Those fucking Jews I want to hate." But this is my perfect chance to go ahead and just, get this out of me and kind of hide it. And that's what they do to black people. Like they're the white people say, "Well, I have a lot of black friends." Well, that in itself is a racist comment. And any black person will know that. I'm just saying that
so
as a Jew, you do experience things that you don't experience. Okay, you don't, and I know it when I see it.
What you just said. Let's separate American Jews from Jews in Israel for a moment. Okay.
A lot of people hate Jews in this country, and a lot of people hate Jews, and you've seen it. You've gone to Buchenwald. You've been to Auschwitz. You know that's a real thing. And some people are real happy that happened, and they won't say it out loud. But I can kind of sense when they do. So I can't say everybody's like that, but I know it comes out. I know where it is.
Okay, now let's get back to the point. Can you separate American Jews from Jews in Israel?
Absolutely, and that's a good point that you made, because I had it from a friend. I'm not going to mention his name, and part of the problem beef I had with him on Facebook is he made a comment. He talked about the cycle of violence, and he was talking about Israel. But this is where people in the United States, Jews who are getting punched and pushed around the streets. That's not a cycle of violence. These are not Israelis in the United States. So when a Jew gets attacked, and by the way, the Jews get attacked 9 times as much as Muslims, although there are fewer Jews in this country than Muslims, from anti-Semitic attacks, whether it be at synagogues.
You really believe that?
Absolutely. Believe it. You can look at the numbers. What I'm saying is that to call it a cycle of violence, like for example, let's suppose Israel gets shot upon by Hezbollah, they attack Hezbollah in return, and then all of a sudden somebody in Pittsburgh gets their ass beat, or they try to shoot them up. So when you say, not you, but when somebody says, well, that's the cycle of violence, the person in Pittsburgh had nothing to fucking do with it. They're Americans. They're not Israelis. How do you call that a cycle of violence? That's fucking an anti-Semitic attack. Now, if you have a problem with Israel, that's fine. You say, I don't like what Netanyahu does. That's fine. I have a problem with Netanyahu. He gives the Haredim a break just to get political advantage. The Haredim should be fighting. If somebody's going to attack you and you're going to hide behind the fucking Torah and say, I don't have to fight, get your ass out there and fight them. Get your ass. If they're coming at you, kill them.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question now. That when's the last time ICE has acted on their anti-Semitic feelings? When's the last Jewish person been shot to death by ICE?
That's not the point. The fear is not. ICE is going after. No, ICE is wrong. But I'm saying the Jews that are being attacked, they're being attacked by citizens, not by ICE. Citizens. Their congressmen have been confronted, and they're screaming, and they're right in their face, and they're threatening them. Dave, and you can see it. It happened in California yesterday. It's horrible. It's hard. The person doesn't deserve that. I could bring it up, but there's no sense, because I don't want to make this show all about anti-Semitism. But it's out there, and you look at the numbers.
Well,
of course it's increasing. It's 9 times the amount.
Okay, here's my point. Of course it's out there, but so is racism. So is
right, but there's only 6 million Jews in the country, and the numbers that you're getting are astronomically higher. Just in specific numbers, you talked about Bridgeton. You say in comparison to Washington, well, there's only 25,000 people in Bridgeton. I'm saying it's like we're Bridgeton, and the total numbers are still higher. Okay, this is where I say you don't understand as a non-Jew. You don't understand, and it's not that you're a bad person.
I don't have a figure to base that on. I'm going to do some research. You do some research. First of all, let's establish that there are anti-Semites in America.
Many anti-Semites, and a lot of people don't even know it.
No, I understand.
They don't even know it.
There's also, I'm not Jewish, but I know a lot of my people. I don't want to say that. But I know there's a lot of the Jews are too rich feelings, those kinds of things.
Jealousy. Because somebody's successful, they hate it. It's like because the person next to you got laid with the girl you like, and all of a sudden you're pissed at him.
Yes, that's how people react.
And that's pretty shitty.
Well, I didn't say it wasn't.
fucking study and buy a brain if you have to. I'm not talking about you, but again, if you have a problem with Jews being successful, don't fucking take the polio shot. And then you can fucking be in an iron lung for the rest of your life. I understand. You know what I'm saying? If you don't like them, don't accept all the possibilities that they have given you. Look, I'll give you an example of an anti-Semite. You remember Hedy Lamarr, Jewish actress,
Yes.
Okay?
Right.
Now, she hid it for a long time, but she was Jewish, okay? There was a Nazi who fell in love with her and wanted to save her life because she was in Austria at the time. Because she was attractive, it was okay. And this is what Lenny Bruce brought up with Lena Horne. He brought up Lena Horne and Kate Smith, and he said, this is the mentality. He says, he wanted people to understand about racism and anti-Semitism. He said, you take a racist from the deep South, and you say to them, give them the thought experiment, you say, if you were on an island and you were going to have to be with one woman, you could make love every day, and this is going to be the person you're with for the rest of your life. You have your choice. You have Kate Smith or you have Lena Horne. Which one are you going to choose? And it's interesting because the racists, they'll choose Lena, even though she's was black, they're going to choose Lena Horne because now it's to their advantage. Okay, just like the slave drivers, they're the ones that are raping African American women because they found that they were prettier, or at least in certain cases, than their wives. Okay, so they'll make an exception to their hatred because they want everything. It's because the hatred is so wrong. It's like saying, okay, look, if a black person robbed you, that doesn't mean that you judge black people because one person robbed you.
In America, all right?
Right.
Would you say that there are more people who hate a whole bunch of groups, Jews, blacks, anything that's not them, or do you think there's more people who are just anti-Semite?
That's a hard question because I think in terms of the history of the world, the Jews have taken the brunt of the majority of the hatred. However, I cannot deny that
So
in this country, I would say it's worse for black people than it is for Jews.
And I was going to say,
right.
I would also say that it's worse for indigenous people than it is for Jews. I would also say it's worse for gay people.
Well, that doesn't make it right. I'm just saying, I understand it. Okay.
What you're coming across as, Brian, I think, or at least to me, you're coming across, is anti-Semitism is worse than.
It is, in terms of the world.
It is not.
It is. It is.
It's worse.
Why do you think except for Israel, there's no place for them to stay and live in peace? They can't live in anywhere in the Middle East except for Israel. Because you're talking about people losing their place. They're just shoved out of lands. They can't stay.
So what you're telling me, and we'll end it with this, is you feel that Jews have been treated more wrongly than indigenous people in America, than Japanese Americans during the Second World War?
The history, I will say, I'll make it very specific to understand. I say if you take the total number of years, look, Cambodians have been mistreated horribly. I would say over the greatest length of time for any one community to be have prejudice, placed upon them in terms of time, ad infinitum, without any doubt, it's been the Jews for, I would guess, at least 2,000 or 3,000 years, probably longer. I can't see of any other group that has dealt with that for that many years. And if you can find one that's dealt with that many years, tell me. I can't imagine you could dispute that.
Well, I can only do with the, let's see, what do I have? 74 years on the planet here. In 74 years on the planet here, I do not find that, and I can only deal with America because I'm not a citizen of the world.
Right.
I can only say that I would go with this route. Anyone who hates anybody because they're different is wrong. Okay,
right.
We know
That's
that.
absolutely right.
We know that. But what bothers me sometimes is that, and I understand it, I'm of the one group that hasn't been. I'm at the top of the food chain in America, just by my dad's sperm uniting with my mom. white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, heterosexual. And none of that is important. I mean, if I was born with anything else, it would be different. But having said that, I think I just worry sometimes when, okay, you have Jewish background, and I understand that it might mean more to you because it's your people, but it's the same across the board. What we need to get to, and I don't know how we get there, is it's all wrong.
Well, that's what I say. I think we should all become atheists, and we should all just drop the God shit, and that's why I say I don't want it in the high schools or anywhere. I don't think it's cool to even talk about it. To me, it's not the. I mean, I know people be offended. I'm sorry. It's not the Bible. It's the Babel. It's all basically Babel. And if you start giving it any kind of importance, it is. I think it is just abuse. It's child abuse. It's got to stop. We are in the 21st century. We're in a serious situation with evolution and how things actually work. This God thing's got to go.
My friend,
and I'm talking about Israel too. Has got to get rid of the God thing, and hopefully they'll be the first to do it.
And look, I will say this, okay? It's been posted a lot. It's not original with me, but the World Cup is here. Trump's trying to destroy that too, but that's another story. But I think that proves that people around the world are pretty good about getting along with one another. It's the governments, it's the religions, it's the old histories that we can't live. Now, the reason I think that you're an idealist, and I admire your idealism in terms of ending religion, I don't think that's going to happen. I think what we have to do, those of us who see the dangers of it, have to try to minimize.
But it's got to happen, Dave. And this is why Hitchens...
It won't, Brian.
Well, you can't force people not... But at least what should happen is, as it was intended, you can be religious, you can believe whatever you want, but don't go outside your own toes and preach it. Just take it. If you want to believe in 72 virgins, or you want to believe that you're going to some kind of heaven,
that is correct.
Fine. But don't make my children, don't make me acquiesce to your notions of how this universe happens. It's not that way.
That's the fight that we have. That fight is legitimate. But that fight involves every single person in America, because, it's not geared to any one race or any one creed.
Well, we had a good start with the founders. They had a really good idea. I mean, most of them were deists, but that was more of a natural God, so to speak, of nature. But at least they understood that you don't tell somebody what to believe in. And some things were, even them, if you're intelligent, everything was so absurd, Dave. So, I know. It's got to happen, Dave. People have to grow up.
It's not going to happen, Brian. You're giving too much credit for people. They will not. Maybe they will not. It's too ingrained across the world. I just don't. I wish it would, but I just don't see it.
It's poison, Dave. It's poison.
I know all that, but you've got these people who go back generations and generations. Okay, let's get to.
All right, let's get to the meat
Sandy's
of
point.
this.
I'm going to talk. This is important because it's kind of a lead up to this.
Well, sort of. Yeah, I would imagine.
No, it is. It is. Okay.
Because you're dealing with different cultures, and that's going to be an issue in the negotiations.
Right. So what we have here in D.C. right now can only be termed one of two ways. You can either call it a fiasco or you can call it a clusterfuck. And it's both. Okay. Basically, it's Donald Trump, again, King Midas in reverse. Everything he touches turns to shit. So let's get to the great American state fair. First of all, in and of itself, that is not a bad idea. Okay, in and of itself. So what makes it bad? It's Trump. It is. I mean, literally. Okay, so I've been there twice. I went opening day just to see it because, see it with your own eyes. And then yesterday, my granddaughter wanted to see it, so we went. My granddaughter gave the best, probably one-word summation. She said, "Man, this is lame." And it is, Brian. It is.
Was there any difference in terms of the amount of people there from the first time to the second time you were there?
Well, twice. Today it was rained out, but it wasn't because it was rained out, right? It wasn't raining hard. There was nobody there, so they closed it, saying it was weather conditions. Now, when I went, I've lived here 15 years, and in the summer, every summer, there are some festivities. One is the Smithsonian runs its Folklife Festival. They deferred this year because they knew there'd be a national celebration. I would estimate a crowd for that versus a crowd for this 15, 20 times more people for that than this. There were whole sections where there just wasn't anybody. Okay, it's done in sections. There are 4 sections of the mall, and of the 50 states, 40 are there. So, and it's like it's not even a state fair. They have, look, when you think of state fairs, right? You think of food, right?
Right,
And you think
and big crowds too.
and crowds and rides. Okay, there's one ride
Night and day at the state fair.
Right. One ride, which is a Ferris wheel. It's not giant. There's a bigger one about 6 miles down the road. It's big. I mean, but of course, right in front of that, positioned, is a model of the Arc de Triomphe that he wants. So the only place where I've seen lines are waiting to get on the Ferris wheel. The other place there was a line, it was interesting, was the Department of War. And it's funny, Brian, you live here, and that's the first time that I've really thought about that being changed from the Department of Defense to the Department of War. That's a very important change, a horrible change. It really is. And certainly, again, who was that? Trump and Hegseth and that. So what you've had so far, the opening night, of course, what we had Trump announced 9 washed up performers who had once been famous. 7 of them pulled out. Everybody else pulled out. And the main featured entertainer, there were 2. One was Kash Patel, the worst director in the history of the FBI, possibly the worst person to ever work for the FBI. His girlfriend, who has 5,235 listeners on Spotify. That's it. She's the featured entertainer, and of course, Trump. Now, it's not me. You could look it up. There were people walking away left and right in Trump, MAGA hats from his speech. He can't deliver it anymore. It's just not there. So it's pretty horrible. Then you have the fact of you have National Guard there, okay? Which we get used to that in the city now. We have them everywhere. They're everywhere. But, it's kind of, and I put something on my Facebook page where Brian, the whole mall is fenced. The whole mall. You can't see it. You have to go inside to see it because it's fenced with the drapery effect on that. I went to the media booth. I don't know where they got the 2 young ladies working for them. They couldn't answer any of my questions. I mean, it doesn't matter where you go. Now, food, yeah, you can get a $24 pretzel, Brian. Now, again,
$24 pretzel. Can you believe that?
Yeah. Now, there are $5 sodas. And again, I will say this. DC prices are high and the mall prices are even higher. I thought it was kind of ironic that there's 2 main areas for food. Like, it's not interspersed around. It's just these 2 main areas. And you walk through this long thing. In one, almost all the food was Thai. I mean, nothing wrong with that if you want to feature Thai food.
You like it. I know you like Thai food.
I love Thai food. But I'm just saying, again, great, if you had a thing, Louisiana, I went to see Alabama, and so did my granddaughter because she lives there. And they might have had one of the better exhibits, but it was still just pictures and nothing really there. But the real travesty is, for those of us, the Smithsonian was ready with how many years, 40 years of preparation. They were ready to turn their Folklife Festival into the Great American State Fair. And they had lineup. They won't release it, but they had entertainers there the constant time. And it could if they let them run it, but Trump took it over as he's trying to take over the Smithsonian itself. So you can't even imagine how few people are there. And on 2 of the days it opened Wednesday to nobody. Trump, again, this is Trump, said 45,000 people were
right,
there.
and about 1,000 showed up.
That's being generous.
Generous.
That's being
okay.
generous. Now, one of the things, it's kind of interesting because I want to read different takes. Fox
I'm sorry,
News
I'm not keep. By the way, Dave, I'm sorry for I'm not. I'm actually listening to Dave here. I was very interested, and I'm missing all the commentary. But I'm sorry. So
yeah, and including Kim, carrying it even further. Not only was no one buying a thing, they weren't buying it itself. They weren't buying that this was a fair. So I was there. You know,
you think that the Republicans just live so far away, or they don't want to be involved in the heat, or they just don't give a shit?
Well, first of all, I think you hit something. D.C. is by nature, and I think they're about 87% registered Democrats. Here we're about 80%. So it's not a kind of culture that would necessarily go. But they were hoping for tourists to come in. Now, I'll kind of pick up with that in a moment, but we'll leave it right there. So you have food astronomically priced and not that good. There's just nothing. There's no way that I could recommend to anyone go to that fair. It's just the Cumberland County Fair, which is held in the county where I lived, is 462% better than that.
And by the way, Dave, if you're familiar with the musical Oklahoma, or
yes.
there was a musical called State Fair, at least the guy, 76.
No,
I mean, that whole idea, the imagery is so much different than what I saw.
And then what I'm saying, what Trump touches, okay? So the weather is not cooperating. Great. I mean, you first of all, you don't hold something like that without a plan.
Right.
Just like the UFC fight. I mean, it shouldn't have been held, and it destroyed.
Well, that was going to get more people than the state fair because they love violence. Republicans.
That is true. But anyway,
as long as they're not on the wrong end of it.
Right. So I'm walking across. Judy was somewhere, and I was just disgusted. I'm just walking, and I had one of my pro Springsteen anti-Trump shirts on. I wear them. I wear anti-Trump shirts most of the days, and so I knew it was a reporter and his filmographer, and they stopped me. They happened to be for the New York Times, so they did about a 20-minute interview, but I haven't seen it. I probably got cut, left on the cutting room floor, but it was. I did get a chance to talk to them a little bit after. I said, is anybody enthused about this? They said, yeah, a few, because they're blind. I mean, they're literally blind to Trump, and they just think everything he's done. Also, I've mentioned quite frequently, and we'll be dealing with them a lot more. Flair is a group that I belong to down here. 24/7 protest on Pennsylvania Avenue. Last week, it was, I think I mentioned an 82-year-old lady gave me the finger. Another one said,
yeah, can you, I don't know that you mentioned that on well, no, there's something else happened to you. Can you mention that, or do you don't want to mention it?
Oh, I'll mention anything, and if you remember. So, but this time it was interesting.
I remember the T-shirt thing.
Well, it was interesting. For the first time of wearing these, and I've gotten a lot of really disdainful looks, both from 2016 to 2020, and then again from now. And I love that. I revel in that. But for the first time, a woman did take issue. We were on the escalator. She was a little bit in front. She turned around and says, very, very, she started. And she was older than I was, or as old as I am, I think a little bit older. And the thing was, she said, I spent 37 years in the military, and you, young man, are a disgrace. I said, okay, whatever. And she was black. Now, that doesn't mean the two.
Certainly, we are above that.
But
it is interesting.
And you're finding that a surprisingly...
in the same way that Clarence Thomas is interesting.
Well, no, I know. But anyway, so no, I will save everybody time. Look at the pictures. And it's sad, Brian. It really is sad. America has never been great. Take that off the goddamn hat. It's never been great. But there have been times when we were a little bit better. And those are the times we could celebrate.
64.
And
that was nice.
Trump is just, it's about Trump. Now, I'll be interested. I won't be here. But, he now is going to deliver the July 4th speech himself. He said it'll be the largest crowd ever in the history of Washington, D.C. I don't think that's going to happen. And a lot of people, unfortunately, we're at a point now, which I don't remember in 1976 when we celebrated our 200. It wasn't like Jimmy Carter was everybody's choice for president. But it was a different time. I don't know if we'll ever get back there. But there was a kind of a feeling of possibility. That things could get better. Right now, It's despondency. It's disgust. It's, if there were such a word as deplorability, it would be there. But that's not all Mr. Trump was in the news for. I don't know if you caught this one. This is terrifying. He said, "You must respect the president, or expect bad things to happen." No, Mr. Trump. No, anybody out here. This is the way respect works. No one should respect the office of the president. You should choose the person. And Mr. Trump, you are not worthy of one grain of sand of respect.
No respect whatsoever.
You know he's feeling it now. You know now it's gotten to him. Before, I think he flew a little bit above it. Now he's saying
The only respect you should show is that, in the sense that you, in terms of your own personal dignity, you decide what level you want to react.
Well, as I said, and I suggest this to people. It works for me. It may not work for anybody else. I think that hatred hurts the person hating more sometimes than the hater. You know, the hater is in worse shape. For example, it eats at you. You can't do anything about it. I like despise, because despise gives me some distance. I despise President Trump, right? I would hate him, I guess, if I was in his face. Another one. Here we go. You ready for this, people? Watch it. It's coming. He's got a new word this week: communism. And what he's basing that on is Mondami's win in New York, plus 3 very liberal socialists, Democrats won in New York, and the mayor of Washington, the new mayor of Washington, D.C. Trump has already indicated that he is making plans to take over Washington, D.C. That's already on record because of this. But he's paving the way with these words. And
well, isn't he going to have to do this sooner than later? Because there are obviously 3. You've mentioned the 3 presidential candidates from the Republican Party. That's coming up very, very soon. We're now to the 2-year mark.
But in Trump's mind right now, I am firmly convinced that he believes he will get a 3rd term. So,
well, it actually might make sense in terms of what the Supreme Court's been handing to him.
Well, I'm not saying he's crazy for it.
What do you think?
I think he believes it.
He'll just say, "Well, if Roosevelt can do it, why can't I?"
Well, no, I mean, yeah, but the idea of it is no. He shouldn't have gotten 1 term.
Right.
And certainly now, I would say to anyone that's supporting Donald Trump, I would say to them, I really do think you're making a mistake. That's it. I mean, what else are you going to say? I mean, they're not going to change. But this communism thing, that worries me a little bit, because that's such an emotionally charged word, the communism.
Absolutely. He can split the Democratic Party.
And that's what he's trying to do, among other things.
You've heard James Carville. He said he's had it.
Now, there's a book out there that's also giving him apoplexy called Regime Change. It's by 2 reporters from the New York Times. And I don't think there's that much in it that's damaging that we didn't know. But there's nothing good in it. The one thing that he's really, they say he's really upset about, apparently in his bedroom, it's a pigsty. He just throws shit all over, and just like food and stuff, and so it's like, again, even in his personal life, he's.
Well, you did. Are you talking about the what's it? The Nancy Hagerman book, the book with?
Yeah, Hager. Yeah, well,
that is. We could talk about that for like 3 shows.
Well,
that's just profound, and what they said.
Well, it shows the inner workings now, and one of the other things I wanted to get in.
And by the way, they're not contesting it because they have recordings of the question.
Well, yes, they do have recordings. That part is true. Now, the one person we can't forget who's emerged in the news is Natalie Harp. Do you know who Natalie Harp is?
For some reason, I think I do.
You might.
I remember seeing that in something that I read.
Yes,
she had blonde hair.
She has blonde hair. She's 34
Why do I
year
know
old.
Natalie Harp?
I will tell you why.
Okay, tell me.
She is Donald Trump's #1 personal aide de camp. She carries with her at all times a printer.
Oh, she loves him, right? That's the one who loves him.
She has professed her now. Of course, there are people in mystery shows. Well, no, she worships. Okay, I'll use an example. Like I really think the world of John Lewis. Okay, but I'm not going to have a romantic relationship with him. And I don't know that Natalie Harp is having it either. But her wording of memos that have been released you're my world. Now, she may just be the best conniving 34-year bitch in the world, but Natalie, I have a word for you. If you're tied up with Trump, you ain't going to win in the long run. It ain't going to happen. Her brother came out this week saying it's an unhealthy relationship. Susan Whiteley, who's the chief of staff, there was actually a meet, and that's been documented. There's and Sandy's, well, if he can, I don't know if there's enough Viagra in the world to do that. But Susan Whiteley, and there was a meeting.
I just can't. Actually, I don't want to get into this sort of conversation about it, but just the logic is, if he can't have an erection, like I probably wouldn't want to have a relationship. But it would be kind of embarrassed.
He needs.
I wouldn't do it.
He needs people to worship him, and he doesn't care if they don't. I mean, that's just him, So, and he's got this fascination with young, which goes back. We know way back when. So Trump's not really having, necessarily the best week. We're beginning to see riffs all over the place, which is good for us. One is Tucker Carlson. Go at it, Tucker. I'm never going to be on your side, but go at it. He's a frenemy. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene came out with some interesting statements this week. That's so it's warfare between them. You've got the two most named successors to Trump. One being the vice president, obviously, J.D. Vance this week came out and said, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but it's a shame. Nixon wasn't that bad. It would only been one news cycle, Watergate. And what he's saying is, we're so bad now that might be true, right? I mean, that was. So he's trying to, and you've got Rubio, who is being the smarter one, I think, right now, of kind of low profiling it, but also he did take the free shoes and wore them that Trump. I mean, I guess if you had to say, that had to be the most demeaning thing of all. Trump bought shoes because he liked them for his cabinet, and some of his people got wrong sizes, and they wore them, Brian, and they wore them. That says
it's mind-boggling that would even come up. Like, how does that happen in
it doesn't.
In the presidency,
but you and I share something in common. We're pretty anti-authoritarian in the sense that if it doesn't make sense, we're not going to follow it. And a lot of people don't have that filter. The other thing I wanted to say, because we let our granddaughter choose. So today we went to see We the People, and I do recommend that. It's the White House Historical Society. Trump's picture only appears twice in the whole thing. It's a replica and some reproductions. Well done. It's much better than the State Fair. Things like you can sit in on the cabinet as they discuss simulation, as they discuss Cuban Missile Crisis and what to do. It's a well done kind of thing. But then we walked over. You cannot, the closest you can get to the White House. Now remember, this is July 4th week, right? Coming up. This is America's 250th. The entire fencing goes, you can't even set foot in Lafayette Square Park. When they move the fence back a little bit more, you're going to be in Baltimore. And it's just as bad on the other side. Because Trump doesn't want people to see. Whether it's the covered up Kennedy Center, which still exists.
Right, so if my name's not on it, nobody's going to see it.
And that's his thought.
This is the way he goes.
Or maybe I don't want to see it, right? If I drive by there. Same thing with the White House. And I mean, think about a couple things before we sign off. The reflecting pool.
They're going to charge some people, Dave, and
they've charged 6 already.
But I'm just, these people are going to serve time, or maybe serve time for something that has nothing to do with it.
Well, if you want to know somebody who should serve time, of course you got Donald Trump.
Right.
But here's the thing, Brian. This is what really kind of aggravates me is you don't have to be really that smart. He talked about at one point scuba divers. Brian, the water doesn't come up.
Right, you'd break your neck if you went in there as a scuba diver.
It doesn't even come up to your knee, right? So you can see a scuba. Now, if you look there, it really does. We were talking earlier, unfortunately, about concentration camps, and I've visited some. Around there now, they have these AI cameras up. The fencing, you can't get anywhere near them. It does remind me of what I saw in Eastern Europe. I mean, not because they're putting people in there. But then we find out, and it's been verified, that he wanted to inspect the work before it was done. He took his motorcade.
Right.
Of about 12.
He's probably responsible for it.
He is responsible. That's my point. And
How do you drive? First of all, the pool is a foot and a half deep, so they have to like go over something, right? Or was there a ramp?
What they did, I'm sure, is they got a little. They had a temporary ramp.
All right. Okay. Then they went on it and they drove on it because he's too lazy to.
The point is, they did drive across the whole pool.
A photo op. So
now, what else is interesting? I don't know what this means, so I'll leave everybody up there to make their own decision. Today, informal survey, spending our day around the blocks around the White House. Excuse me. Foreign, there was not the crowds that you would expect at all, obviously. Now, rain might have something to do with that, or the state fair might have something to do with that, even though it might take a few people, or just the museums. But I would say, Brian, foreigners, judging by accents and looks and that kind of thing, outnumbered Americans 15-1, maybe more. That's the image we're giving to, on our time of 250th.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't vote here.
Well, that's true, but they'll take back. I said this. That's why it's damaging. And then I want to end on a positive note. Yesterday, Saturday, right? I went down, hung out a little bit. Well, let's say with my granddaughter, and I stayed in the district, and I went out to visit Flair. But on Pennsylvania Avenue for 6 blocks, they're having something they have every summer called the Great American Barbecue Battle. And that place was packed. So between going to Trump's fake and the real deal of real Texas, and North Carolina and the barbecue, and the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile was there, and the peanut train was there. So there's counter programming. And again, I'd like to invite everyone to keep an eye on this next week when the group Flair, which, as I said, basically is a 24/7 protest operation. They have 7 days of battling Trump. And there's some really interesting things going, including teach-ins, going back to that, including speakers. A gentleman just wrote a book, which I just picked up, on the history of the history of dissent in America. He came down to visit there and spoke. So it's the battle. Okay, it's the battle. We always end, more optimistic, less optimistic. Actually, I'm going to go with a little bit more optimistic this week, simply because I don't know that Trump can succeed in anything. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying, just the mere fact, if he goes to do something, it's going to be fucked up. That we know. Now, does it mean it's going to be fucked up and he stops the midterms? That's a possibility, right? But I think it's more like, and I don't see him health-wise. I just don't see him. And listen, Natalie.
He's been fucking up for 10 years now, and look where we still are.
But Natalie, I don't know that you're having sex with him. But if you are, really work hard at it. I know of 2 people in my lifetime, and I'm sure there's many more, who expired during the act. And you would be a national hero if you took him out with either him on top.
Well, it's funny you mentioned, if I can expend the time here for a second, Dave. It's just kind of a weird thing. And it actually is something that happened in Russia. There was a famous Russian singer named Alla Pugacheva, and she's probably in her 70s right now, late 70s. She was like the Madonna of Russia
right
at the time, during the 70s. And very, very popular. So she married a guy probably 30 or 40 years younger than her. So when she first was dating years ago, she froze some of her eggs. So they actually had a child,
Right.
But they had to do it a different way. And I asked the Russian woman, I speak with her on Saturdays, and I said, why would somebody, marry somebody 30, aside from the money thing? And she said, well, it's the fact that they had the name, like it's this romantic view of they have a connection with the past with somebody, and then you've got to be a part of that past. Now, that's the only thing I can think of, is that it's not that she wants money per se. It's just that she can be in the game.
Oh no, you're exactly right.
It's a weird thing.
Okay, one of the sayings in D.C. All of us that live here know it. Washington D.C. is Hollywood for ugly people, and basically what that means is this city runs on power. Now, we've never seen anything like Donald Trump ever. John F. Kennedy had more sex in the White House than probably 10 presidents combined. All right.
Maybe Harding, who knows? He was pretty.
Yeah,
he went outside to get it done.
Yeah, and Johnson also was a big time player, but he's kind of one. But so I mean, it's not just that. It's just Trump is perverse, disgusting, revolting, horrible. Look, he has all that money and he dresses the way he does. His tie is too long. I mean, I don't usually pick on this stuff. His suits are ill-fitting, and I would never ever, attack someone for their incontinence of not being able to hold their bladder.
Right.
But with him, I will, because he'll deny it, right? Mm-hmm. And the idea of it is there are enough people who said that he smells that I don't, and they didn't really have a vested interest in it. So obviously he has health problems. Judy, my wife, she won't even speak his name, hasn't for years, since he became president. But her big thing is, she said, how the hell do you be in good health when you have 22 medical professionals checking you out?
Right.
Now, there's never been a president who's had, that many. So we don't even, and we know for a fact, and this is where I will leave tonight, the thing that may frighten me most, besides our international standing, is the fact I don't even know if I could believe him if he said his name was Donald Trump. The man is incapable of doing the right thing, but even more so, he's incapable of speaking any truths about anything, even something as simple as this. And what was interesting, I mentioned that
his weight.
Kash Patel's girlfriend, was the singer.
Right.
A photographer caught the reflection of the crowd in her sunglasses coming off, and there was nobody there. That's the moment when Trump said there were 45,000 people. It was less than 1,000. So your take? More optimistic, less? Same?
I am definitely pessimistic, and it came out of the Supreme Court this week. The fact that you still, it's actually not even Trump now. I've discussed this with Ronnie many, many times, and it's the idea that, I'm more angry at the people who follow him. And there are some people who still believe, there are people who are on the news, they believe that somebody did take a box cutter and went all the way across the point. Just absurd people. But, we've discussed this privately, Dave. Part of this is the problem with religion. You have this, magical type of thinking that you will think whatever you want to think and make it the truth. They will make him their God. So I have no confidence. I think you're absolutely right that whatever he does it's going to go bad, but that won't always translate it to being good
into good for us. Right. No,
what I'm saying is, I think the one good thing is he's so toxic. It's going to sound strange, but I think in the end Trump it'll be Donald Trump that destroys Donald Trump. It won't even have to be a second person or a third person to say, well, he did this or he was on the Epstein. I think he'll do something really stupid, like fall in the shower and hit on something because he's too busy talking on his phone while he's in the shower. Something really absurd. No, that's how I think he's going to go. I don't know how it's going to happen, but he's so toxic that, yes.
And another reason that for your pessimism, why I think it's genuine, is we didn't talk about the Supreme Court, but there is no question that there are now, in my estimation, not that it wasn't before, but there are 6 justices who are the Republican justices, 3 of whom were appointed by Trump, one of which I blame Barack Obama for in a certain way. He didn't fight for it. And of course, maybe we'd be better off if Merrick Garland we'd still be better off with Merrick Garland on there.
Right.
Somebody. But the idea of it is, you cannot rely on the Supreme Court to do the right thing ever. So you have a president incapable of doing it, and a Supreme Court who refuses to do it, and a Congress, both Senate and House, who are worried about their own positions, and they're the ones that could turn a little bit. I don't see the Supreme Court's not going to change, and Trump's not going to change.
Let me make one correction to myself, because I just remember. Yeah, obviously you see Freddie's down here for everybody. He's a Cairn terrorist. I mentioned about Cairn, the PAC, Political Action Committee. It's CAIR, not Cairn, CAIR, Council of Arab Islamic Relations. And by the way, all these PACs are legal. I just said Cairn, but I'm thinking about Freddie. But Freddie's a Cairn with an N at the end. And that has nothing to do with it. They're just Scottish dogs.
Well, you know what? I pick on you a lot as a fun and friend. But I will say this: I couldn't do the show any other way. I actually have more notes tonight than I usually do. I wrote 4 things down, and when you wing a show, and Brian says I am 10 years older than you. I do want to warn you though. The other day I was speaking, and for the first time in my life, I couldn't remember something very important to what I was saying.
Well,
so
you're
there.
No, but there it is. Exactly. CAIR.
Yeah. So I might. Have
I don't know why I said that. I'm so focused. So I don't even know it. I probably look back a lot at my dog because I'm always trying to see.
You didn't.
Every once in a while, I love my dog. I love my dog. He's crazy, but I love him.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to point out.
He's the only good thing in the universe. He's really that good.
Ronnie will like that tonight.
Well, okay. Okay, sorry.
2 things. Now, here's the thing, though, people. I don't know. There's not always a cause and effect, but I will say this. Brian retired on
Wednesday. Wednesday was my last day. Thursday was a day, but
Thursday they did a poll, and New Jersey moved up 8 spots in education. Now, I don't know if there's, any kind of cause and effect there. All right. Next time you hear from me, Brian, I'll send you something.
All right, and definitely,
the
Dave.
Wonderful country of France. I will.
If you can, even though we're not a climate change channel, Sandy would definitely appreciate this. And by the way, thank you everybody for showing up and commenting on.
Yeah,
sorry
it always
to get
goes
this
past it.
But if you can if it is really hot when you're there, I assume the heat dome will be there too. I would guess. Take pictures of just where people aren't even looking at you when you take the pictures, because they're always the best photographs. And take pictures of like the heat and just that momentary, just boom, boom, photo of people, how they're handling the heat, and just that natural look.
I hope you're able to handle it. A lot of people I've heard, they have this picture of this retired teacher from New Jersey, and they look at that and they get so angry that he taught for all those years that the anger, I don't know if that's. All right, get out of here.
You're more optimistic. When you say you're more optimistic, let me just finish this by saying, when you say you're more optimistic, you're not saying you're optimistic. You're saying you're more optimistic.
No. There's no way to be optimistic.
So you're still pessimistic,
But when I say, that's good to clarify, though. Okay. No.
Because I want to make sure they understand. Thank you, Kim.
That's good, because what it is, no, we are in serious trouble. Democracy is literally hanging by a thread.
And let's just say our world, and Sandy will agree on this, the temperatures have been skyrocketing,
and I don't know, Brian.
We don't know what's going to happen the next 4 years. I'll get back into that shit, and I'll drive myself nuts.
I'm just saying, again, I kind of don't follow climate change for one reason. I think we are doomed.
One of those ice shelves go, this summer. Well, it's not summer now; it's winter. It probably won't go during the winter. But if one of those shelves breaks off, the ones that are where the ice is actually hitting the bottom of the ocean, it's going to raise the water levels by 5 feet, and it's going to obviously hit the southern hemisphere first.
And people say, well, it's been warm before. No, not
it has been warm before, but 5 million years ago.
Well, that's the idea, and I wish I'd saved that. They did a really good thing on climate change at the Natural History Museum about 10 years ago, right? It was and they said, I know it was under 2 degrees. If the temperature were to raise like 1.7 degrees or something.
Well, 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius, then games, they're trying to keep it at 1.5. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but what they said is, I think it was 1.7. That was the same climate the dinosaurs lived in. And that doesn't mean
there's a difference, though, with the dinosaurs. from what I remember reading, is that the oxygen levels were much, much higher back then. That's why they grew so
Well,
big. It was at 38%. We would not be able to live safely
no,
with that,
no,
where
no,
they
you're
could not
right.
live
And-
today. So that's a little different. It was
No, but
hotter.
what I'm
It was
saying is-
really hot.
No, but the idea of it is we weren't there during that period.
Right. It's,
And we won't be there during that period if it comes back. Not
but it
say dinosaurs.
certainly gives pause
It
for
won't be
thought
there.
because it can get into this escalation thing where it gets exponential, and then you're see, that's the part of the problem too with religion is like, yeah, I mean, we can all say that, you know, like things tend to
It's God's
happen
will.
gradually, and that
No.
it's this thing, you can lose it all because remember, we're all going to die, and that's a very, you know, common statement, but it's each one of us. It comforts us if we say we're all going to die because we're talking about somebody else.
Well, yeah,
you're going to
everybody-
die, and you're going to die, and you're going to die. But there's going to be a point when all of us, you cannot substitute. You can exchange things from others, money, but you can't exchange your death. You are going to go. And the question is not as whether you're going to go; it's how you're going to go,
And I think
that's the
that,
whole.
you know, it's
ballgame.
interesting. It's tied into what many of us say, but I don't think it translates over for that many people. It's not the quantity of life; it's the quality of life. Okay, and now you're talking about that, whether it's whether it's the things that could destroy us, nuclear war, climate, pandemics. The question becomes, you know, and you see it once in a while, you know, with alternate science fictions. It's probably the ones who die are the lucky ones. In terms
Right,
of,
I mean,
in terms of what's left.
Remember
You know?
the movie? They shoot horses, don't they? I mean, it's at some point, and for anybody who says life is great, you can say your personal life is great, but
That
as
is
long as
correct.
there are people suffering out there, be very careful what you say, because that's like saying I make all kinds of money, and then the person next to you is poor.
Well, that's
and
that's,
we even you and I, Dave, as much as we've been very lucky,
Oh yeah.
but you know, who knows?
no.
10 years from now, you've been through scares. I had a slight scare, 2 months ago.
Right.
We don't know, you know.
And I think what you do know is, though, what should I say? You all of us you have to figure out what you're going to do and do it. Not just, you know, I'm not saying do a show like we do it or whatever, but yeah, my suggestion would be to find a problem, and they're everywhere. Okay, from homeless to addiction to climate. I mean, and really work to try to.
Well, that's
try
what
to-
Camus was basically saying with
Try to work
imagine
to-
Sisyphus happy, because Sisyphus is happy because he has a job.
and he's also, you know,
You know.
the idea of it is, you know, and I think that may be a difference, Brian, too. We've been talking a lot about that down here.
You
But
have
the
no
difference-
look. There's no meaning in life like that's set. You know, it's,
the-
it's a
they-
diabolical universe. If you
No,
you
here-
get
here's-
outside
here-
this, or even on the planet, it's mostly uninhabitable.
Well, here's the thing too. I leave with that because I've been doing a lot of that meaning of life stuff. As you get older, and my thing is now there is no such thing.
No
as a
such
meaning of-
thing. No such thing.
But each person can create a meaning for their life.
Correct. Exactly. And if you
And
guys
that's
aren't familiar with that, read Camus. I mean, there are others too besides
or any
Camus.
any of the existentialists. That's kind
Right.
of
The existentialists. Yeah. I mean, some of them are slightly different than one another.
Oh no,
But
but the idea is
Camus really kinda nails it.
a religious person might say, you know, live the life of Allah wants you to, or God wants you to, and all that. No. That's not. The nice thing about the existential idea is, A, you can create your own meaning, and B, it is your own meaning. So therefore, maybe it's be the best parent. I mean, there's all kinds of ways. Anyway,
Right.
how do you say Brian's wrong and Dave's right in French? If somebody would send me that, and Italian,
Okay.
I'm going to get
Okay.
those two.
Then you better get those two. Okay.
All right,
Okay,
man. Take
David.
care.
Promise. I want you to promise
I
to
will-
not to me, to everybody out there, that you're going to
will.
send pics and maybe a couple. I didn't expect a lot of videos, but if you can, send a video
Yeah,
or two.
I try. What I want to do too is talk to people and get them on video.
Don't get arrested, okay?
You sound like my granddaughter.
Don't
I
get
will
arrested.
not get arrested. I haven't been arrested now for 50 some years. So I'll be okay.
Okay, and you're leaving tomorrow, correct?
9:00 tomorrow. We're leaving.
Just as a joke, and hopefully you'll be able to do this because if you're leaving at 9, you can probably get up at 5 or 6. You get up at 5 or 6 before, haven't you? Or
In the morning,
Yes.
I've gotten up 5 or 6.
What I'd like you to do is just, I want just as a joke, just go down to where they have the fences there, and they have the pool. I want you to bring a box cutter, and I want you to like wave it in the air. Don't worry, the police.
Well, I'm not doing that. But actually, in July, I'm going to see Billy Bob Thornton, the actor, who was a musician before he was an actor, and his band, and they're called the Box Cutters.
Oh, really?
So I will
Okay.
be.
You'll see.
Yeah, so I
You'll
will be
share the
involved with Box. All right, man. Take care, Brian.
By the way, folks,
Thanks, everybody.
Dave would have told me to do the same thing. Okay, so like we say, I don't like bringing up absurd things for him to do.
Oh, no.
Dave would have told me to bring a box cutter.
Oh no! Oh no!
And you would, Dave. Don't lie. Just tell them yes, you would do that. All right, he's gone. I think I can't turn this thing off. How do I turn this? Oh, here it is. All right, folks. No, I was being facetious because Dave told me the last day of school I should disrobe myself and whatever. So some ridiculous thing. So I know Dave was down there. So I just say Dave's smarter than that. So. All right, folks. I will see you next week. Gonna guess Sunday, could be Saturday. I'll let you know. We'll have something. Yeah. Okay. So thank you, and have a wonderful weekend. My dog, he's good. There's some good things out there. I'm sure if you have a pet, you'll be able to say the same thing. And if you have a dog or a cat, pet them. Just hug them. They're good.